And it's showtime. Welcome once again, everybody, to the Owl's Nest BBQ Show. I'm Steve Ray. I'm your barbecue correspondent for the evening. And it's time that we talk a little barbecue. We're brought to you by Michelin Tires. From the Michelin Defender LTX to the Michelin MXV4, Michelin Tires have the tire for your car, truck, or SUV. Don't let the family ride on anything else. By Michelin Tires. Owl's Nest Barbecue Show is also brought to you by Butcher Barbecue. All the great products available nationwide, online, and at a retailer near you. Butcher Barbecue products will put you in the winner's circle at your local competition, your national competition, and more importantly, in your backyard. Trust your butcher. You can follow the Owl's Nest Barbecue Show on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Just look for Owl's Nest Barbecue. And tonight, our guest moderator is my good friend Jeffrey Maxwell. He will be in the chat chatting with y'all. So if y'all have any questions, Jeff will answer them. He will welcome you, and y'all just have a big time over there because we're going to have a big time here. Because I'm going to tell you what, I've got two great guests coming up right now. We have got. You know what I did? I left out page 2. But that's okay. Joe Perez, Joe, wave your hand. And Steve
Yep.
Dotson, wave your hand. Joe Perez, of course, Cooking Joe Foods on YouTube. And, of course, all our great followers know Steve by now. The Cookout coach from West Virginia, Steve Dotson. What's up, fellas? How you doing?
Doing great.
Everything good
Hey
with you,
Steve, how
Joe?
are you?
Joe coming to us from Central California. Wow, that's a trip, buddy. That's a trip.
Yeah, we're out here.
Of course, Joe Perez is the Joe. I'm gonna say you probably know more about the Weber pellet smoker, or at least as much as anybody around. Just as long as it's been out. Maybe not the company personnel, but of all the testers, you've got several great videos up on YouTube about the Smokefire. You've cooked just a plethora of things. And Steve Dotson, Steve, we've been kind of following your little endeavor, so to speak, with building a smoker,
Hmm.
and it's quite a. I think Joe and Steve and I talked last night for a little bit, and we showed some pictures. And Joe, I think you'll agree, it's quite an apparatus, isn't it?
You know, I don't know what I'm looking at. So,
He's a pellet guy, Steve.
Yeah, that's fine. I called a lot of things a little endeavor. I don't think I'd call one of them at this point, but hooey, she's a beast.
Now tell
right.
let's I've got two pictures here. Here it is. There's Steve right there on the right. It looks like about with the finished project, and there it is all by itself. Steve, start with the inspiration for this thing, and where you got the plans, and how long it took, how much it weighs, and how the first cooks have gone in it.
Sure. So, this whole project, essentially, I had some downtime this summer. It was after a family medical event. Everything was good, so I just had time to think, and I was sort of thinking about the upcoming Jack Draw, and if we got that, what we were going to take there. And I've used a lot of backyard cookers in competition the past couple of years in KCBS competitions, and they're great. I love them. I use them at home constantly, but I've also put a fair amount of wear and tear on them. So I was thinking, that plus sometimes we just load up in the back of a pickup truck and go. So I was kind of wanting to come up with something that was a little bit more roadworthy, but also very space efficient. Like if I go pro tomorrow, I can cook a whole comp on whatever cooker I wanted to build. And I sort of stumbled upon Riptangle smokers, which are made by a guy. I believe his name is Jeff Ripplemeyer out in the middle of the country, and there's some cool little square ugly drums. They're bigger than a normal 55-gallon can,
Yeah.
and I always hear everyone talk about how much fun can cooking is, whether it be a pit barrel or a gateway or one you just built yourself. Everyone loves to cook on cans. So I kind of wanted to do that as well, since it's something I haven't done. I thought maybe it'd be something the channel, the folks that watch me would like to see too. So I looked into that rectangle, but the weird thing about it to me was, even though it was bigger than a 55-gallon drum, you couldn't fit 2 pans side by side on a grate. And just for efficiency's sake, that just didn't sit right with me. So I started talking to my brother, who's a little bit more of a fabricator than I am, about what we could do to sort of go with this design and sort of get that direct can effect,
Yeah.
but be super space efficient with it. So I sort of came up with the idea, let's build a square one, and we'll get the dimensions off full size foil pans, because Steve, as a competition guy, we live and die by foil pans, or at least I do.
Well, we all do, because we all got to get as many in a space as we can for efficiency.
Exactly. So we were just going to do it based off of foil pan dimensions and build it like that. Well, I got to talking to a few folks and watching some more YouTube videos, and I ran across this thing called the FrankenCube. It was a cooker that was built by a guy named Frank Cox from Smoker Builder manufacturer. Mm-hmm. Also runs a website called smokerplans.net. And he's very easy to get a hold of, actually. So I got a hold of Frank, and I asked him if he ever released the plans for the FrankenCube so that I could build it.
The FrankenCube,
he said,
nah. I love it.
Yeah, it's fantastic. He's got a logo for him. It's pretty funny. But so long story short, he agrees to release the plans, and we started putting welding rods to metal sometime in January, and I believe it was 5 or 6 weekends worth of work.
Mm-hmm.
We now have a finished product, and those pictures you have there, I believe, are all done except for the finish. I think there was a few more steps there. I put clear coat over it, kind of kept it rough looking, but I mean, as you can see, it comes. I'm a 6 foot tall man. I'm not a barbecue medium by any stretch of the imagination, and it's almost as.
How much does it weigh? How much does it weigh, Steve?
It's every bit of dancing with 600 pounds.
Wow.
We got that counterweight on the back, and it's not filled with anything because the lid is so heavy. Mm-hmm. You have to put so much weight in it to actually do anything. I had my 225-pound brother-in-law hold himself up on it, and with 2 fingers, I could keep the lid closed or open. I mean, that's how much weight we're talking about just in that lid.
So this cooker has a door at the bottom. That door swings open, and does a basket come out?
Yeah, there's an ash pan and a basket.
Okay.
And as I found out during burn-in, she moves a lot of air, which is great for convection. It's great for cooking. I love that. But with moving all that air, we're burning a lot of charcoal. So that door's pretty handy. Yeah.
So what do you have you got a thermometer on it anywhere?
Yeah. So I threw so last summer or 2 summers ago, maybe, I went down and tested some Myron mixing cookers, and I fell in love with the look of those things. They got that big old 5-inch tell-truth thermometer, right?
Well, you know why? You know why he's got that? Because Myron and I are about the same age. I think I'm 2 years older than he is. Because we can't see, Steve, and we need a big thermometer that goes on the front of those doors. So as we're passing by at a contest or working, we can just glance over there with our reading glasses and see what the actual temperature is. But I know what you mean. They're nice.
Yeah, well, it looks right on a piece of steel that big. It just looks right. And to be honest with you, I run digital probes, so it wouldn't even matter to me if that didn't work, because it just looks so good on the front of it to me that I had to throw it on there. Now, that being said, I do have a probe port on the right side of it. And I don't know if you can see those pictures. The hole might just be there for that. But because I've ruined a lot of probes by closing lids on them. And with a lid that heavy, I wanted to go ahead and put the hole in the side, put the actual port, so that we're not going to be, buying any more $25 probes, and life's good, man.
Oh, absolutely. So what kind of temperature control do you have on it to regulate the temperature on it then?
So right now we've got two 2x2 intake stacks on the front of it. Kind of look like tusk on an elephant to me.
Yeah.
And it's got one 2x2 exhaust on the top.
Mm-hmm.
And when I burned it in this last weekend, I wanted to run just purely naturally aspirated, no forced air, just to see what it would do. And if you leave it wide open, she'll settle in dead on 330. And that's fine with me for a cooker that big. To get up that high, that's more than fine with me. Now, that being said, again, going to comps, eliminating variables and precision is all the name of the game, if you ask me. So on the back of that, much like I'm guessing your gravity has, I've got I think it's an 1.5 or 1 3/8 drain valve that a guru will plug right into.
Oh, okay,
And
good.
yeah, we're gonna
Okay,
force that in.
so you've got some forced air that you can put in there. Now, what do you usually cook at a comp, Steve?
I'm a 275 guy. I don't
Okay.
get mad if we bump up to 300.
Uh
I
huh.
don't get upset if we go down to 250. But I'd rather stay in about 275 to 300.
So you feel confident that this smoker will be able to do that?
Oh, 100%.
Wow, that's it's a neat looking piece of equipment, and you know, Joe, I don't know about you. It's something I've always wanted to do was build my own smoker. The closest I ever came was I built a ugly drum. I bought a drum and I bought the kit from I think Big Papa Smokers. I'm sure you guys have seen those.
Oh yeah.
Joe, have you got any experience building a drum?
No, but I got to talking with my brother-in-law, and with my Smokefire, I had a small cosmetic issue
Mm-hmm.
where the porcelain had cracked. I called up wherever they overnighted a lid, but I think I'm gonna make a charcoal pit out of it. So
Out of the lid?
yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
that's
we
cool.
think throw a barrel in there and cut it and fit the Smokefire lid to it.
Well, Steve, when you were building this thing, and I know it's a lot of work, the first one, but you know the second one and the third one always go smoother. Have you got any? Have you got any designs at all in your mind of, you know, the Cookout Coach presents the first line of smokers from West Virginia? You know, buy yours online.
Well, it's funny. So two things on that. One is, I tell you what, if you're gonna build something that's not one of those drum kits,
Uh huh.
definitely get you a set of plans from someone who knows what they're doing. I made a few modifications on this one that I thought would be cool, or things that I didn't think were necessary, and they weren't catastrophic. But after I did it, I found out that, oh, that's the reason Frank had this in the plan the other way.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that being said, I do have an idea for a mobile North Carolina whole hog cooker idea.
I did.
It,
So
you know,
we're not happy with just this one this size. We want to go bigger, put a whole hog in one.
well, I don't have a hog cooker, Steve. I need one.
Hey, I've done one in my life. I did it on my offset. I've got a big offset, and Steve and Joe. I'll tell you. I don't know, Joe. You may have done one. It's not that hard. You think it's going to be, hard and laborious. And now the one, granted, the one I did was only 80 pounds, but it's not that hard. And Steve, if you got that smoker and you built it, um, even if you just built it for yourself, I think you'd enjoy it,
Yeah,
especially
I
in
think
North
that's good.
Carolina style. Where you cook it
Well,
right over
so
those coals.
yeah, the whole idea was I wanted to have an integrated burn barrel in it, so you could burn down those coals to do it,
Hmm.
uh, Scott or Jones style, and burn them down to shovel them into some doors. Actually, I think Tuffy Stone might have a handmade pit that's kind of like that. Might be a little more redneck because that's just how I am.
It's West Virginia.
But yeah, West Virginia, what are you gonna do?
That's right.
That's what I kept telling people, Steve. When people kept asking me, "Oh, you're gonna get a trailer?" I said, "Well, I think I might need to because it got a little out of hand. You mixed some rednecks, a pile of steel, and a welder, and it just kept adding weight to it. And
Yeah,
I don't think I can pick it up anymore."
600 pounds. That's a tub, man.
Yeah.
That's a whole lot of smoker. But I know it looks great. And where can people go see it right now, Steve? Have you got it on your YouTube channel?
So no, we've started making the actual video for it. But
Okay.
right now, if you want to see what it looks like in its completed state, go check us out on Facebook and Instagram, both Cookout Coach. Just go find me. You'll find it. It's got a all I did was polish the metal down to a shiny metal
Hmm.
and clear coated it. So it's got like a faux stainless steel. It looks like all business to me. But
Hey, it's bad. It's bad looking. You guys just hang on real quick. We're going to talk about backyard smokers right now. Don't forget the broadcast partner of the Owl's Nest BBQ Show is Backyard Smokers Barbecue Facebook page, the go-to page on Facebook for answers and information on grilling, smoking, and all things live fire and backyard. Share information, and you can get information on Backyard Smokers Barbecue Facebook page, the broadcast partner of the Owl's Nest BBQ show, and we sure appreciate all the good folks, Wes Phillips and all his crew over there at Backyard Smokers Barbecue. All right, let's switch gears. Joe Perez,
Yes,
you're
sir.
gonna like this now. Watch this. Now check this fancy thing out. How about that? The
Yeah, I understand that.
the Weber, the Weber. I keep saying Spitfire. They should have named it Spitfire. The Weber Smokefire, the most controversial smoker ever created by man, the most anticipated smoker ever created by man, the most troublesome, the most easy to use by some, troublesome to others. But you're the guy that you popped up on the Weber Insider page, Steve. In case you don't know, there's a fella. Do you know his name, Joe? Real nice guy that started that page. I forgot his name, but he's got a YouTube channel, and anyway, he starts this Weber Insiders, and he started it way back in, I guess were you on it in November, Joe, before the release?
You know what? I got on it, I want to say a day before I actually bought my Smokefire, so maybe a little over 3 weeks ago.
Well, it was really anticipated, Steve, and there's a lot of people speculating, yada yada yada, and everything. And when it came out, it was like Christmas morning for everybody. And Joe kind of his post, to me at least, they kind of rose to the top. They rose above the fracas, above all the negative things that were going on. And tell everybody, Joe, about the things that you have cooked on it, the problems you've experienced with it, the things that made you happy, the things that made you sad, and the favorite things so far that you've cooked on it. And Steve, if you got any questions for Joe, I mean, I've got two of them, and I've cooked almost everything you can cook on one by now. So if you got any questions, feel free to jump right in here. Okay.
Will do.
All right, man. I don't even know where to start with this. To say it was controversial is the least you could say about it. I joined the insiders group. Yeah, like I said, a day before I actually got my hands on the Smokefire, and I looked at what was going on in the insiders group, and a lot of bad stuff, a lot of good stuff, just a mix of everything. And right around that time was when the Baby Back Maniac video came out,
Mm-hmm.
the Grease Fire, and shortly after that, Harry Sue's Real World Cook came out, and I was confused. I didn't know if I should get this or if I should just hold off. I rolled the dice, went down to my local Lowe's. They had one. I picked one up and started cooking on it. Now, I've had pellet grills in the past, so it wasn't anything new to me, but in a sense, it was that it doesn't use a big metal deflector like some of these other pellet cookers in the market use. Most of them use some type of a metal deflector where it channels the grease down into a bucket on the exterior of the cooker. But those, to me, I would like if they were called pellet smokers, because some of them have trouble doing some direct flame grilling, and that's what the Smokefire did. And so
Yeah, they named it the Smokefire Grill that smokes.
right,
You
yeah,
know,
and I think that's pretty accurate. Yeah, based off of my personal experiences with it, I think that's pretty accurate. I can grill on it, and it feels like you're at a one of the Weber Genesis grills.
yeah,
It
and it looks
feels
like
very
Joe. It looks
similar.
like that in there. It looks just like a Genesis inside.
It does it with that big flavorizer bar down at
Yeah.
the center, right over the fire pot, and then you got the smaller ones over on the left and right.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, so it's a grill, I think, before anything, and then it works as a smoker too. So I think they nailed it. I think that's pretty accurate. Um, Man, some of the stuff that I do like is I do more grilling than I do smoking, and
Yeah, but
high temperature
you've done pork
cooks.
butt. You've done. I think did I see a brisket yet on yours?
No, I haven't got. Yeah, I haven't got a chance to do a brisket yet.
Tell us about the pork butt though. You did. That thing looked.
Okay,
I
so
saw that this morning, Steve. I'm gonna tell you something. You need to look at that. It looked pretty darn good to me.
smoke profile. Smoke profile was that was not what I was expecting. I expected a little bit more of a mild flavor.
Mm-hmm.
This is a very clean smoke. It's very pronounced. I like it. It's got a balance. It's not where it's overpowering, but more an ingredient, I guess you would say.
That's a great way
And
to put it.
so,
That's a great way to put it, Joe.
yeah, and so when I did that first pork butt, that's what surprised me, the smoke profile of the pellet cooker there. So that was good. But yeah, I've done the reverse sear on it just to see if it actually can do that. No problem, it did it. I did a tri-tip. I did some high temperature cooking with using a couple of cordierite stones to bake some pizzas. Nothing too fancy, just 68% hydration, I want to say the dough was. And it cooked them in about 4 to 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It did really good, held temperatures well. I threw on the chicken. I did that, something that's a little bit greasy, a little bit higher temp. I was rolling right around 400 degrees. Did that no problem. And then we got into the smoking, and that's when I did the pork butts. I'm up to about five or six pork butts on there now. And one time I tried to replicate one of the Baby Back Maniac videos, where see if I could just catch it on fire. And it wasn't to discredit that he had a grease fire. It was more to document my personal experience, because if anything, Baby Back Maniac, he is a true asset to the barbecue community.
Oh, absolutely.
And I wanted to see for myself what would happen. So we did that, and
So
for
what?
the sake of what?
So what? Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What is what do you find at fault with it right now? Just
Oh,
this is Joe Perez, and I've got a Weber Smokefire, and I don't like.
yeah. So there is one thing that I don't like, and that is that my controller has frozen twice.
Mm-hmm.
Now, not a single out Weber. We're dealing with a piece of technology. Technology is going to fail from time to time. So, me personally, that's not a big issue, because what I had to do was power it off, power it back on, and I was back up at my smoking temperatures within about 10 minutes. It didn't affect my cooking anyway, so not that big of a deal. I did reach out to them today, and I got a response from customer service, and they said that they are aware of the issue. And in the next couple of weeks, there's a firmware update that's going to be released for the controller. Now, so far, they have a pretty good track record, because Kevin Coleman 2 weeks ago said that the app would get an update. That happened on time.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm really thinking that this firmware update is going to
Joe,
fix that.
Was it that important to you that you were able to sync your telephone to this? Are you that type of person that was that the first thing you tried to do, was make your phone run this grill?
No, I know that there's a lot of people that are just getting into cooking, and they see the pellet grill as the easiest way to get into cooking.
Mm-hmm.
So I can see why a lot of people buy these grills. Me personally, yeah, it just, I don't think it's something that I'm ever going to use. I use ThermalWorks products.
Mm-hmm.
They've treated me really good in the past, and I just stick to just using that. I got a smoke that's been rocking and rolling for a few years now, and it's old reliable. So
You know, I haven't
as
even
far
tried. I haven't even tried the probe on mine, because I've read a couple of sites and seen a couple people say that, hey, it all worked fine until I plugged the probe in, and then everything
you
went
know,
south. And I'm afraid to use it, because I'm going to I'm going to let it. I'm going to use it a few times, and I am going to try to update my phone or firmware, whatever firmware is. I don't even know what it is, but I guess you got to tell your phone to talk to your grill, and I'll get my my 3-year-old granddaughter's coming over in a couple weekends. I'll get her to do that for me. So, but I'm afraid to put the probe in there.
yeah, me and you both. I didn't know that there was issues with it, but I haven't used it just because I do have my smoke.
Yeah.
I'm not treating it any different from my other pits. Even my other cookers, I use a drip pan. Just try to keep things clean. Grease fires can happen regardless of the grill, and what we seen in the insiders group was, it's hard to put into words, but almost like Weber had gotten singled out. So what I did was I joined a couple of the other groups, GMG, Traeger, Yoders, and I seen some of the issues that were in the insider group happen with some of the other groups. So it looks like it's something that's common. Some of these issues, like maybe the pellet feeding issue, sometimes that's been an issue with some of the Traeger models.
Mm-hmm.
The grease fire, I actually got to see a YS640 on fire, and that uses, of course, a diffuser. But that just goes to show that I think maybe the expectation for this grill wasn't set right in a way. And I'm not saying that Weber did that. I just think people's expectation of it, because at the end of the day, you're dealing with fire and you got pellets in there. You have all the ingredients for that recipe of making a grease fire. So I don't think it should be treated any different.
Joe,
Joe, I
hang on a minute,
actually
Steve. Hold on a minute, Steve. Steve, you use a gravity feed pit, don't you?
I have used gravity feeds. Yeah.
Yeah. You talk about something that if you get a grease fire in it, they had these guys with these little Webers and these little pellets. They haven't seen a grease fire till you catch a gravity feed on
You're
fire.
there on the insulated cabinet. It's
Yeah,
bad.
when you're dripping chicken grease down in that left hand corner, and you look in there and that thing's on fire. And Joe, I'm not kidding. You look in there, you're down, going, what in the world? And there's this heaving glob of chicken fat that looks like something out of Star Trek. It looks like it's coming at you to eat you. But go ahead, Steve. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, Joe, I just want to say I think you hit the nail on the head there. That the expectation wasn't set right, but I think the problem was that Weber hyped this grill really hard. That if you remember, they brought all those influencers out to Chicago, and Justin from Baby Back Maniac was one of those. And I went back and rewatched all those clips because there's a point there where Kevin opens up the lid and there's a brisket that's definitely no wrap brisket, and there's no pans underneath of it, and they're talking about the draining being perfect and everything. And I don't have a problem necessarily with the issues that have popped up with the grill. You're going to have issues with something brand new. That's fine. But I don't feel like Weber has answered the criticisms correctly. I feel like, and maybe we're just out to get him. I don't know. I doubt that.
Well, they're not gonna say, "Boy, we really screwed this thing up. We should have never released it."
That's the thing is, if they would just take responsibility for it, I'd be okay with it. But the other day, I guess 2 weeks ago, I saw Mr. Coleman on the show, and I feel like every issue that on the Barbecue Central show, I feel like every issue that Greg Rempe brought up, he's like, "Well, I wasn't there to make sure they put it together right, so I can't." So I feel like they just kind of passed everything off. And, I don't know. How do you feel about Weber's response to the things that have been brought up there, Joe?
Yeah, well, having a job in the tech world for the last 10 years, well, I took a break now, I'm doing something else, but I did work in the tech world for 10 years, and I can get where Kevin's coming from, and I don't think people that have worked in that industry understand that. They're looking from the outside in, so maybe perspective's a little different. But I can understand it in the sense that whenever we release new technology, we had just, it was issue after issue after issue for the first few weeks until people figured out how this piece of technology works, right? So I can see that. What I didn't like was that with the pellet feeding issue, I don't think that their fix is well, I don't think it's a fix really. What they started doing was giving people a slide, right? So it's supposed to help with bringing up the angle of the hopper and making sure that the pellets feed correctly into the auger. Now, that's cool. Weber's actually making moves and trying to help people. What I don't like is that the grill was advertised as a 22-pound hopper, and with this little Band-Aid, you lose 2 pounds of that, so you create another issue. Now, me personally, it's not that big of an issue because I wanted to just see if I can get over an overnight cook. It did it no problem. I'm out there, I'm checking the bark, I'm looking to see when I got a wrap. So for me personally, if I have to go out there and shove some pellets over to the left side, it takes me 10 seconds. It's not that big of a deal, but that's not to defend Weber.
Sure.
Weber, they have an issue with it feeding pellets, and so this is a little Band-Aid on the fix, if you will. So
Steve,
it's
a work in progress.
I've contacted them to see if maybe there's
progress.
Yeah, and I've contacted them to see if maybe there's a redesign that they're going to do where they're going to send this out. I just can't see them leaving this like that. I think they're going to redesign it and send that out. I think what they should do is probably extend the hopper over to the left side and increase the angle. That way the capacity is still the same.
Yeah. So as a software developer myself, I hear you on tech and everything, but if I deliver something to my client and tell them that I've tested every other piece of software out there and found their flaws, and I've tested mine for a bajillion hours, and I deliver something that doesn't work, my feet are held to the fire. And that's just pretty much what if they would have came out and said, hey, this is a work in progress, this is still new, we're working on it, we're cool. I just don't like the way everything has been brushed off. But I agree with you 100%. I think they will fix it. And,
well, it's
fantastic.
to both of you. It's got snags, but I'm gonna tell you both. I've got the 4 and the 6, and I had a little trouble with the 4. I didn't get a grease fire. I got a pellet ash fire. It was pretty impressive, but the way, guy, I'm gonna tell you, the way I grill a fire is nothing new to me. that's just part of it. Guys, thank you so much for being part of the show. I appreciate it. Joe Perez, the Smokefire expert, Steve Dotson, the Cookout coach on YouTube. Catch him there. Catch Joe Perez at Cookin' Joe Foods, and you can go on Facebook and see the behemoth monster that Steve Dotson has come and his friends have put together. And do yourself a favor and check it out. And, fellas, we'll get you back on, and we'll get an update shortly. Okay, Steve? And you too, Joe. Thanks, fellas.
Yeah. Thank you. You guys take care.
You bet. Man, what a great two guys. Thank you, Joe Perez, and thank you, Steve Dotson, for being on the show today. We really appreciate it. Hey, don't forget, join us next week when direct from Missouri, Heath Riles. That's right, Heath Riles of Heath Riles Barbecue will be on the Owl's Nest BBQ show right here next Thursday night, talking about his 2 new rubs that were introduced just last week. We got them in at our store here in Ooltewah just today. Haven't even had a chance to unwrap them and put them out, but they are out, and they are going to be big, and we're going to be talking to Heath about it. And remember, when you need tires for your car, truck, or SUV, don't trust your safety to just any tire. Ride on Michelin tires, and don't forget, when it comes to barbecue flavor, Butcher Barbecue has you covered with all the flavors, from the grilling addiction to honey rub. Trust your Butcher and all the great products from David Bosca and Butcher Barbecue. Folks, until next week, this is Steve Ray, your barbecue correspondent in Ooltewah, Tennessee, wishing you a good night and good luck.